Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some truly fascinating psychology that honestly might just change the way you see yourself. Have you ever felt like you just don't fit the mold? Like your brain is somehow wired on a totally different frequency than everyone else around you? Well, let's get right into this, because what society usually brushes off as abnormal or weird might actually be a hidden superpower. We're breaking down some source material today that points to 6 specific signs that you actually possess a remarkably rare mind. So, are you normal or do you feel different? It's a pretty heavy question, right? For a lot of us, feeling different is this thing we've always tried to hide or maybe even fix. But the research we're analyzing today completely flips the script. It suggests that feeling out of sync with the majority, that's not a flaw. In fact, most people who have a genuinely rare mind don't even realize it. They just walk around thinking they're weird. Today, we're going to reframe that entirely by looking at these traits for what they really are: highly advanced cognitive frameworks. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want you to treat this explainer as a sort of interactive self-assessment. As we go through these psychological traits, keep a mental tally. Keep score of how many you actually recognize in yourself. Oh, and a quick heads up, you'll want to pay extra close attention here, because the final sign, sign number 6, is widely considered the most potent and, frankly, the most dangerous of them all. We'll get into exactly why that is, but for now, let's kick things off with the first 2 traits. All right. Signs 1 and 2, the introverted engine. This first part is all about how you process energy and information. You see, for a lot of folks, getting exhausted in social situations is seen as a weakness. But for the rare mind, it's literally just the way a highly active internal engine operates. Which brings us to sign number 1, being alone is always greater than being in a crowd. If you have a rare mind, large crowds are probably super uncomfortable for you. Spending too much time surrounded by people doesn't just make you a little sleepy. It completely drains your cognitive bandwidth. But, and here's the massive psychological shift, the second you're alone, your brain doesn't just shut off. It actually activates. The peace and quiet act like a giant on switch. It's in these exact moments of total isolation that your absolute best, most innovative ideas start flowing. And this brilliantly illustrates what psychology tells us about how these specific minds function. Think about surface-level thinking versus deep-level thinking. The average person tends to hang out on the surface level, right? They take things at face value simply because it's easier and burns less mental energy. But the rare mind, it's hardwired for the deep end. This is exactly why crowds are so incredibly exhausting for you. Your brain is involuntarily trying to deeply process this massive wave of surface-level noise. So naturally, it craves quiet, just so it can dive deep without all the distraction. Which perfectly segues into sign number 2, deep thinking. What's really fascinating here is how the actual thought process breaks down. For the average person, once they figure out the what of a situation, they just stop. They've got the answer, they're good to go. But for you, the moment you get the answer is the exact moment your mental engine hits the red line. You immediately push past the what and relentlessly start digging into the why and the how. And look, let's be totally honest. This habit can be incredibly frustrating sometimes, even to yourself. You overthink, you analyze literally every angle. But this exact analytical mechanism is the very thing that separates you from the rest of the pack. Moving right along to signs 3 and 4, the observer's lens. So we've got a handle on how your internal engine works, but how does a rare mind actually interact with the outside world? Well, spoiler alert, you are probably completely misunderstood by people. Sign number 3 is a textbook example of this. People probably look at you sometimes and just label you as lazy. And why? Because you don't always jump out of your chair to start a task immediately. But the source material gives us a massive psychological reframe here. You aren't lazy, you're selective. You simply refuse to do things blindly. While an average mind might rush right into busy work just to feel productive, the rare mind hits pause and evaluates. Is this actually worth doing? Like, should I even be spending my time on this? You're actively conserving your energy for what actually matters. And that selectivity naturally spills over into who you let into your life. Which brings us to sign number 4, your people reading ability. You have this uncanny, almost instinctual knack for figuring people out incredibly quickly. You can instantly feel out who's being fake and who's actually genuine. You rely heavily on those gut feelings, and because your brain is constantly running in the background, processing all those tiny micro-expressions and subtle social cues, your gut is rarely wrong. So the really crucial takeaway here is that because you can see right through the facade, you actively choose to limit your connections. You just don't want to connect with just anyone. To the outside world, sure, that might look a bit antisocial, but to you, it's just basic quality control. Next up, sign number 5, forging a unique path. This deep internal selectivity naturally dictates what you actually care about in life. I mean, when you don't process information like everyone else and you don't socialize like everyone else, your passions are obviously going to look a lot different too. Sign number 5 basically means you actively choose following your curiosity over following trends. You simply don't like what everybody else likes just for the sake of it. While the average mind gets swept up in whatever is popular on social media today, finding comfort in being part of the mainstream, the rare mind actively rejects those trends. Instead, you're relentlessly driven by your own weird, wonderful curiosity. If some hyper-specific niche or abstract concept hooks you, you will absolutely obsess over it and master it, totally regardless of whether anyone else on the planet cares about it. Okay, we've covered 5 signs so far. Let's just take a quick breath. We've talked about deep thinking, being fiercely selective with your energy, reading people like a book, and following your own curiosity. Now, are you ready for the final, most dangerous sign? I mentioned right at the start of this explainer that this trait is the absolute ultimate source of mental power for the rare mind. Here it is, sign 6, the most dangerous trait. We're now looking at the single most impactful characteristic of the rare mind. It's a trait that makes you incredibly formidable in literally any situation you find yourself in. And that trait? Emotional control. It's the raw mental strength to not react to every situation immediately. Look, we live in a world where everyone is instantly triggered, instantly furious, or just instantly overwhelmed by whatever is happening around them. But you have the incredible ability to hold back. You don't let every little bump in the road pull an immediate, uncalculated reaction out of you. That, right there, is the very definition of true mental strength. The actual mechanics of this are super simple on paper, but incredibly difficult for the average person to master in real life. Step 1, observe. Step 2, respond. You actively force a pause between something happening and your reaction to it. You just sit back, watch the situation unfold, and gather the data using that deep thinking engine we talked about earlier. And only then do you consciously choose your response. You don't react, you respond. It's that sheer intentionality that makes you unpredictable, unshakable, and, in the eyes of psychology, wonderfully dangerous. All right, let's bring this all together for the final verdict. So, I asked you at the very beginning of this explainer to keep score. Think back over the introverted energy, the deep-level thinking, the selective laziness, the people reading, the unique curiosity, and of course, that ironclad emotional control. What's the magic threshold here? Well, the source material reveals that if you possess just 3 or 4 of these signs, the chances are astronomically high that your mind is exceptionally rare. Yep, you don't even need to have all 6. Just hitting 3 or 4 means your brain is already operating on a fundamentally different and highly advanced level compared to the average population. So I'll leave you with this one final question to chew on. How many signs did you actually notice in yourself? Seriously, drop your score in the comments below. I would absolutely love to see how many rare minds are tuning into this right now. And please remember, the things that make you feel different, the endless overthinking, the deep need for isolation, that stubborn refusal to just follow the crowd, these aren't flaws. They aren't broken parts of you that need to be fixed. They are the undeniable signs of a rare, powerful mind. So own them, embrace them. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.